Hello everyone, Jason here, back with another video for you today. It is a beautiful day out here in the south central Utah mountains. Today I'm going to talk about getting off-grid affordably and how I was able to get an off-grid setup for right about $2,100, $2,200. And yeah, I'll give you guys a little tour of my mobile off-grid setup and a little bit of a breakdown with the prices on everything and how it all works. There's a lot of people these days that are interested in getting off-grid for a variety of reasons. Anything from saving money to sustainable energy, not feeding the big corporations, energy corporations, living more in harmony with the earth, getting out of the rat race, more freedom, working less. There's so many reasons. Spending more time in nature, just living closer, more in harmony with nature. There is a lot of reasons that people want to get off grid. Not everyone wants to for the same reason, but those are some of, I think, the most common reasons that people are trending these days. The trend is to want to get off grid. More and more people, obviously not everyone, but there's a growing movement of people that are interested and in fact doing it. And if you are anything like I was, even up until this last year, you probably think, at least I know I did, that to be able to get an off-grid setup, super expensive. Thousands, maybe tens of thousands of dollars, depending on how cheap you can find property. For that's what I thought. To be able to get off grid, you gotta buy some property, and you gotta get expensive solar setup and wire your house, build a house, obviously. Probably a small home, tiny home. Can do it pretty affordably, but still, said and done, it's gonna be thousands of dollars, and like tens of thousands if you are not fortunate enough to find cheap property. And most cheap quote-unquote property these days isn't really that cheap compared to what cheap property used to be, and it's not in ideal locations. So in any event, that's what I thought. I know that's what a lot of people do. They're able to save up the money and do it. So for some that works, but I'm here to tell you that it in fact does not have to be an exceedingly expensive ordeal to get off the grid and become a little bit more free and not have to rely on the big energy companies. So how I did it was I decided to make a mobile off-grid setup, I guess you could call it, and to make camping more of a lifestyle. I've done a couple videos in the past several weeks more on that and why there's also a growing trend towards that specifically, and I think that's one of the reasons, is that it's cheaper. But even still, campers can be quite expensive, especially new. So even to be able to do it cheaply, I guess you gotta think a little bit outside of the box. I definitely had no plan when I made the decision I was gonna do this. It kind of just all came together as I did research and found different items. I found some deals on some stuff, sales and whatnot. There's my cute little Dakota. She loves being out in nature pretty much almost every day, except for the few days we go in town to get supplies or get online on the computer or whatnot. Anyway, yeah, let's get into a quick tour of my setup and then maybe talk a little bit about some other options that are slightly different from mine to still be able to do it cheaply. So let's see, we've got right here well, let's just break it down right now, the costs, and then I'll give you the breakdown one by one. But basically what I did is I got a canvas tent, not really a wall tent, more of a bell tent style, we'll see that in a minute, with a wood stove for heat, and a cot and a little camp table in there, a little collapsible camp table, and then I got a chainsaw for cutting up the firewood. So that's the main shelter, heat, cooking setup. that was a total of about $1,200, maybe a little bit less. I already had the splitting axe. If someone was going to do this and didn't have that, they'd have to purchase one of those. Then for the actual off-grid power, I got about $435 exactly is what I spent, and that includes the solar panels, the battery, and an inverter to change 12-volt DC into AC, and then a variety of other things that I will go through one by one that total about $480, $500 for a total of $2,200. So anyway, now one by one. We got, let's see, for water's really important. So we got here, this is a little bit overkill probably, but I got an electric, let's see if, anyway, it's a Survivor filter. Maybe the picture be a little bit better. That might be all backwards too with the camera here, but in any event, you just dip this thing in the water. It's got a hose, it's got a pump, and it runs on 2 AA batteries or USB, so I could use it with a car inverter running the car, or my actual main power setup, which we'll get to here in a second. So that was $125. Then I got another water bottle filter. I think its brand is Grail. That was $40. So I went a little bit overkill on the water. I wanted to have 2 different ones. One that was power for easier use, and one that did not need power in case I ever don't have any power at all. That one's nice. It just downside doesn't last. The filter doesn't last as long, but it's you just fill out an outer actual. I'll just show it to you here in a second. Then lights, we've got here. It's actually here in the sun. It's a little solar lantern. It's got a rechargeable battery, and it's also got USB, so when it's fully charged, you can actually use it as a backup battery supply to charge various USB things. And as you'll see, I've got a lot of stuff that charge on USB. This one also charges on a micro USB. So that was $50 for that one. It lasts a long time on low power, something like 21 hours. It does take a while to charge solar. But I've got another one that was $30. So for the 2 lanterns, I've got $50 for that. And between the 2, I can pretty much get by without having to charge it off the battery, but I usually try to have at least one completely fully charged, but I often use them always charging in the sun when the sun's out. So, all right, solar. I've got this. It is a Renogy. I think it's called a suitcase solar panel, so it just sets up there. I could put it flat on the ground or on the top of a roof of a van or something if you wanted to with tie-down straps, but it's got these little legs here, and then it's got the connectors. I haven't brought the battery out yet, but here in this narrow canyon, I don't have much light on my tent, near my tent, so I gotta move my battery out to where there's more sun if I want to get a full charge on that. So that was $230, but that was actually a deal. Those specific ones go for $230, I think. That was on Amazon, but this one had been returned to the manufacturer, and so it was only $230 instead of $280. So that was the most expensive of the solar setup. Here's the little suitcase. It's just about yay big, and the handle's actually built into the solar panel, but it collapses in half and goes in this thing, and then you can just hold it like a big suitcase. So that's really nifty. Then I got a $100 for the 12-volt deep cycle RV marine battery. Got that at Walmart for ease of returning in case of warranty issues. Getting a battery online when you're on the road like I am would be an issue with shipping and all that. So I'm glad I did. I learned the hard way that don't run down your battery below like 11.5 volts or you will kill the battery. And before I left Montana and headed south, I actually already had to do one return, and that was easy, and that's the benefit of Walmart, as much as I dislike them. All right, then we got my canvas tent here. Zoom out a little bit. See, I've even got the stove going so you can see the smoke there. It was chilly last night. Beautiful warm days, cold nights. Anyway, that canvas tent, I think the brand is White Duck. Also got that on Amazon. That was $450 for the tent. And then we've got this wood stove, as you can see. That's a Camp Chef wood stove. It's a fairly big, it's almost overkill for a tent this size. This is, I think, 10 by 10 feet circle. That was $175 for that wood stove, and normally I think that ran $210, but that had been returned to Amazon, so they had a little bit of a discount on that, and it ended up being just fine. It was brand new, it worked great, so I'm not sure why it was returned. Then I've got a little collapsible, if you can see right there. Little collapsible plastic camp table. That's the downside, is plastic, so you gotta be careful with putting hot stuff on it. But that collapses, folds down. That was like 15 bucks. And I got the cot here. If you can't see, got the cot, pillows and everything. That was 100 bucks. That was well worth it. I can store stuff underneath the cot. So I've got a variety. There's my inverter. That was another 100 bucks for the inverter. 105, I think, actually. See, green lights on. It's charging my other solar lantern. And then I got the battery back there, books and clothes and computer and whatnot underneath it. So that's a great way to save space. Obviously, if I just had a sleeping bag on the ground, I wouldn't be able to store stuff underneath a bed. And it's great to have a real bed. Camping's fun, but, you know, having a little bit of camping luxury is nice if you're going to do it as a lifestyle. Then for water, I got these cool little water bottles. They're 5 gallon, and they've got little water spout. And it's like running water, as long as you have a water source. I think those were about, I forget, 10, 15 bucks a piece. And I got like, well, I got 3 of these, and I got 2 collapsible ones made in Canada. I forget the brand, but they're nice because when they're not in use, you can fold them down. These are a little bit tougher, obviously. But then I got, here's the Grail water filter. So it's got an outside container here. You fill that up to the line. It's about 3/4 full. And this has the filter built in. You just put this in there and push it down. And in about that, it's the same whether there's water or not to push it down, approximately. You've pushed it all the way down, the water's gone into the interior one, all filtered up, and you've got water. So that's actually quicker than even my electric one for water, but it gets less uses. So overall, for the bulk of the water, I like to use the electric one. Then I got a little camp shower. This is the battery, and then the orange is the pump, and then there's the wire, and there's a push of a button. See if I can do this, see if you hear it. On, off. So those are rechargeable with USB as well. Got 2 batteries. That was 40 bucks. That was a real steal of a deal, I thought, for having 2 rechargeable batteries. And then we'll go check out the shower now. And then I got a little shovel here. I already had that. And a little metal bucket for cleaning out the wood stove. To get those, be 20, 30 bucks if you didn't have it. I got a bicycle and whatnot. So let's go to the shower quick. We've got, here's the shower head. Right, there we go. Hanging down, you can see that's above my head. It works great. It's actually, believe it or not, got more pressure than my shower back at home in Bozeman had. It was a pretty crappy shower head, but nonetheless, I was shocked. And then there's the bottom dangling down at the ground. I just put that in the pump that I just showed you guys and put that into one of those water buckets that I filled up right here. At this location, I am right by a creek. There I go to fill up water. There's actually a nice little hole down there, watering hole where water's pretty deep, so I can fill up those 5-gallon things to about 4.5 gallons in one fill. So that's really nice for such a small creek. Not that big compared to the creeks I'm used to in Montana, but still beautiful and fresh water, free water. Then for toilet, I just got this little bucket, what, $5 or so with the lid back there you can see. And then I got this bump toilet seat right there. That was maybe $5 or $10 for the toilet seat lid, so this is like $10-15 and I have a toilet. I've got some toilet bags I think I picked up from the sports store. Most recently I got them at the Walmart because they've got a Walmart here at the closest town. Really, the services this whole area, it's really the only town that has any services more than a gas station. So anyway, they're, I don't know, duty bags or something they're called. They're like $12 for 5 or 6 of them, but they got like an outer or an inner black plastic and then an outer really tough puncture proof sealable bag. So when you get them all filled up, you can just put the inner bag, fold it up into the outer bag, seal it up, and there's like no smell and it doesn't leak at all till you can take it to a dump station, trash bin of sorts. And then for right now, for my camping, you can see the tarp back there. That's my little privacy block from the road that's right here. Really don't get much traffic for being right off of a nice gravel, well-maintained gravel road. So nice location. I'm probably gonna be moving out of here, packing up tomorrow, do one last trip in town and head out on Friday morning. Probably gonna head out to the desert Moab area for a couple nights, use my four-season tent that I think I picked up for $30 at a used sports store in Montana. Little tent, so if it's warm enough I'll just use that. I got that so that I could have something to camp in if I don't. This thing's a little bit of a, takes some time to set up, and especially with the stove and everything, so got that other tent so I could have something to set up when I'm just gonna spend a night or two and not a week or two. But doing it for a lifestyle, definitely spending a week or two is the way to go. Anyway, I got this little card table at the thrift store for like $8. I got a little collapsible chair for like $3 or $4. Propane stove you can see, I think that was $40. Maybe only 30, but I think it was 40. It heats up water really fast, faster than the wood stove. And then I think I got that plus 4 propane cylinders for like $12 for the 4 propane cylinders. Let's see, I got this little collapsible wash basin. You can use it, I use it to wash dishes or dry them or both, depending. That was like $15. It collapses, so that's nice. Here's the chainsaw. It's a Stihl MS250. I got that brand new on sale for $300. It was normally $350, I think. So for chopping wood. And then here I found this block. Obviously I don't take that with me. I found that at one of the lower campsites here. And then axe I already had, so I brought that with. And that's about it. And that's my off-grid setup. I got a camp chair, of course, necessary for sure. Old roommate that was moving out before I did just gave it away, so I got that for free. Then I have a Subaru, so roof bag, actually the brand roof bag, but that thing works nice. That was $100. Definitely wouldn't be able to do it with the amount of stuff I have without that, so that was necessary. Anyway, it cost me a little bit more than $2,200 to actually get off grid because I had some car work and I got this iPhone so that I could have some internet when I don't have internet access on my laptop, and actually had to get a new laptop because it was time to do that anyway. And you know, getting a bike, well, I already had a bike, but I got that earlier this season, my old bike. It was done. Variety of things that aren't really part of the setup, but they were a part of what I needed to do before I could make this trip. So plus saved some money, so I have gas money to travel from place to place. And I think I probably, when all was said and done, and I actually left Montana, I think I had about $5,000 saved up, which for doing this long term is not the biggest amount, but I still have quite a bit of that at this point. Obviously you need food and whatnot. Here comes Dakota. But I was able to get, I probably spent maybe $100-200 on food when organic cans and whatnot were on sale at the store. I tried to take advantage of sales. Got a lot of free food volunteering at the food bank. Not the reason I did it, but it was a nice little perk there. I probably spent a couple $100 in books throughout the summer as I prepared, just because want to have some books to read. So I got different variety of books, historical, spiritual, and whatnot. So yeah, I also got, I think I spent $40 on a little privacy shelter, cheap little thing, kind of a pain to set up and take down. I've only used it once, but when you're like, I guess, completely out in the desert and there's no trees or nothing, or where the public can be around you from all sides, it's nice. But you know, with 2 tarps, you can really block off quite a bit if you got trees. So anyway, for using the toilet and taking a shower when there's no trees and no other way to have privacy, I guess it's kind of a necessity, but I haven't used it. So that was another $40, and I think that's pretty much everything. So yeah, it's definitely not the same as living in society, but it's off grid. Just checking my little note, make sure I haven't missed anything, but yeah, I think that's about it. Anyway, so for around $2,000, it is possible to get off grid. That's how I did it. Well, I'll check my last video I just put up yesterday. Goes more into the actual how I did it, but as far as the specific setup, that's that. And there are other ways to do it. Obviously, you could get a van. I once gave a girl a ride to pick up a van. I think she paid like $300, and that van actually drove just fine. I'm sure it wasn't great condition, but it was in driving condition, and she used that to live in for the summer. You could get the exact solar setup that I've got. It's just two 50-watt panels, and then my inverter is a 600-watt inverter. So you could use that same setup. I think the battery is 114 amp hours, and that gives me plenty of time to use my laptop pretty much all to get a full charge out of my laptop every night if I run it down, and charge all my other things, and use a coffee grinder in the morning if I need to. And I've even made a backcountry smoothie with it, so plenty of power for what I need. So you could use that, you could hook that solar panel up onto a van top and do it van style. If you're handy, you could probably find a good deal on a camper. So you just lay that flat on a van. You could use this with a camper as well. I've known people that have installed wood stoves into campers to get cheaper heat, so they don't have to use their propane heater, or so that they have both, which is nice. But the price of campers these days is quite expensive, so that's why I went canvas tent. I could have got a more expensive canvas tent from Montana Canvas, which was right down the road from where I was before I left Montana. But they are known for making some of the highest quality tents in the country, and one of the few companies that makes them in the USA. But they're like $1,200 for their most basic tent. But then you have an actual wall tent, a little bit more space. Mine's the bell tent. It has short walls, more like a teepee yurt style. So that's that. But yeah, with a little bit of thinking outside the box, if you're a little bit handy, you could definitely use a camper, van, or camper and do a very similar style thing for just a little bit more money. But compared to the price of campers these days new, this is definitely one way to avoid having to pay thousands upon thousands of dollars just to get off-grid mobile setup without even having to, and that excludes having to purchase land, which some might opt to do. There's a lot of people that already own fancy campers and they just use them once or twice a year to camp in. They could be living in those year-round. And those people that can afford that can probably afford a piece of off-grid property. So there's a lot of people that if they wanted to, they're ready to go. They just opt to continue living in the constructs of society. I find it kind of sickening that there's like $40,000, $60,000 campers that are nicer than most apartments these days that people use once or twice a year, while there's homeless people in the same city that they live in. But that's kind of a side note, and that's just a side effect of materialistic, consumeristic society, of which one of the main reasons I opted to do what I'm doing. So there you go. It's already been a little bit longer than I wanted, but that's a quick breakdown of the cost of my off-grid setup and how I did it for under $2,200, and how you could too, with similar type of mobile off-grid setup. So have a great day, guys. Till next time, this has been Jason. Peace.